Okay, chapter 4. We love you very much, you know. I don't understand why Claire is so lonely all of a sudden, Mrs. Trelawney said for the third time since they'd sat down to breakfast. She talks about the importance of being independent. What's happened to all that independence? I'd like to know. She's a very changeable person. Amy fished for the last banana slice in her cereal bowl and said nothing. She'd heard her parents talking till very late. Maybe they'd talked all night. It's possible to be independent and lonely at the same time. Mr. Trelawney sounded tired and grumpy. That house is a lonely place, you know, and it's full of very painful memories. I can understand Claire wanting company for a while. Painful memories. Amy wondered what he meant. She waited for her father to say more about that, but he said, staying there will be a nice change for Amy too. Change? Mrs. Trelawney jumped on the word. Why does a 12-year-old girl need a change? I think Claire is interfering in something that's none of her business, just because Amy went running out there when she was upset. Now Luann's going to feel abandoned. Mr. Trelawney looked unhappy. I don't think Luann's going to feel abandoned, he said. Not if she has some adventures of her own. He smiled at Luann, who had been silent ever since she learned that Amy was invited to Aunt Claire's. We're going to ask Mrs. Peck if you can stay with her after school until Mom gets home from work. You'll have fun. No, I won't, Luann said. I want to go to Aunt Claire's with Amy. I hate Mrs. Peck. Amy's father stood up. You've stayed with Mrs. Peck before, and you never said you hated her. I'm going to call her now. He looked at Amy's mother. Unless you want to do it. Mrs. Trelawney shook her head. But if Mrs. Peck agrees, you will let Amy go, he insisted, just until school's out. Amy's mother looked from him to Amy, who was holding her breath. If it's so important, I won't stand in the way, but I won't pretend to like the idea. And if it doesn't work out, Mr. Trelawney went to the den to telephone. Amy glanced uneasily at her mother and at Luann, who was rolling her napkin into a tight ball. The kitchen was silent until Mr. Trelawney returned. All set, he said. Mrs. Peck is happy to have Luann. You go ahead and pack, Amy, and I'll take you out to Claire's when you're ready. Luann's wail followed Amy out of the kitchen. I want to go with Amy. I have to, Mom. I have to. In the upstairs hallway, Amy stopped for a moment, listened to her mother's soothing murmur. Then she went into the bedroom and closed the door. Her duffel bag was in the back of the closet. She pulled it out and began stuffing it with shoes, jeans, socks, underwear, and pajamas. A half-dozen blouses and a cotton shirt went in on top, and her hair dryer, shampoo, and toothbrush went into her shoulder bag. She was ready. She wanted to go right away, before the argument began once more. The telephone rang, and Amy heard Luann run heavy-footed to answer it. Amy! Telephone! If only she wouldn't bellow. Amy raced upstairs, wondering if Aunt Claire had changed her mind. Hi, it's me, Ellen. Ellen! Amy hadn't expected to hear from her again. My mother's taking my aunt and uncle to visit some friends later this afternoon. I know it'll be too late for a picnic, but maybe you can come over for a couple of hours? We can make brownies or something. If you don't have anything else to do, that is. Like taking care of Luann. Ellen hadn't said the words, but Amy knew what she meant. My mom doesn't usually like me to have friends over when she's out, but she said one friend would be okay. Ellen went on. Another pause. She might as well have said it right out. No, sister. That's your sister not wanted. Amy pushed down the resentment. She shouldn't blame Ellen for feeling the way she felt herself. The thing is, I'm going to stay with my aunt for a while, Amy said. It's on the way to Rainbow Falls, north of town. I'm leaving in a few minutes. She had an idea and decided to take a chance that Aunt Claire would welcome a second visitor. Why don't you bike out there? She suggested. I found something terrific in the attic last night. Wait till you see it. Ellen agreed at once. You mean you're going to live with your aunt? Just you? I'm only staying a few nights. The girls talked a couple of minutes more, and Ellen promised to be out at Aunt Claire's around 3. When Amy put down the phone and turned around, she jumped. Luann was right behind her. Her feet were planted far apart, and her flushed face showed anger and hurt. What's terrific, Amy? She demanded. What's terrific at Aunt Claire's? Nothing. Amy ducked around her sister and ran back upstairs. She didn't want to look into those accusing eyes. She didn't want to think about how much Luann would love the dollhouse. She'll see it someday, but not now. This is going to be my private time. Sorry, Miles. Minutes later, she was about to close her suitcase. Luann opened the bedroom door and walked in. She carried a vase she'd made at school. Here. She laid the vase on the bed. For your bedroom at that place, she said. The vase was an olive jar, covered with silver paint and pasted on pictures of roses. It was one of Luann's dearest treasures. You don't want me to take that, Amy protested. It belongs on your dresser. Take it. Luann stalked out of the room, but glanced over her shoulder. Bring it back when you come home. Oh, I will, Amy said. Thanks a lot. She nestled the vase into the clothes in the duffel bag so it couldn't be broken. You're going to have a great time at Mrs. Peck, she called. You'll see. The only answer was the sound of scrunching springs. Luann threw herself across her bed. Amy zipped up the duffel bag and picked up the shoulder bag. She hurried downstairs and out the front door. Her father was cutting the grass, but he shut off the mower when he saw her coming. Can we go right now, Dad? This minute? He smiled. Okay, put your bike into the car trunk and we'll go. Have you said goodbye to your mother? I will. She brought her bike from the garage and then went back into the house. Her mother was in the kitchen table, reading a book of Italian recipes and drinking coffee. She always read recipe books when she was upset. I'll call you later. Amy bent and kissed her mother's cheek. Dad's taking me out to Aunt Claire's now. Mrs. ch4 nodded. I still don't understand, she said. I don't see why you're so eager to get away from us. We had a disagreement yesterday, but she looked up. Amy moved towards the door. It's not that I want to get away from you. Not exactly, anyway. We love you very much, you know. Chapter name. I know. Luann loves you too. I know. Amy was sure she'd scream if her mother said one more word. I'll call tomorrow. Goodbye, Mom. She ran out the back door and down the steps, almost stumbling in her haste. Her father was in the car waiting. She slid in on the passenger side with a sigh of relief. All set? He backed down the driveway. All set. If those words meant, do you feel great about leaving? She really wasn't set at all. But if they meant, do you want to go? Then she was all set, indeed.